Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I'm Lewis Cipher, and this is the Devil's Advocate Debate Club. Welcome back. Today I'd like to talk to you about a social linguistics issue that we face today, and my proposed solution for it. See, there's been a lot of confusion recently among terms like straight, gay, homosexual, heterosexual, and what these mean in relation to trans men and women. And I think there's actually quite a simple solution that's been, for the most part, ignored. Now, first of all, we have to accept that there are biological differences between men and women, and that while these are not absolutes, they are a good general standard to go for. One of the reasons why this is important, for instance, is that men and women react differently to medication. For many years, up until 1993, well, from the 70s to 1993, women were not included in studies for medicine because, well, of a number of reasons, and this has led to a lot of problems that are only now being solved because women and men are biologically different when we talk about their sex. Gender, however, is, in this day and age, colloquially speaking, how people identify. Gender, thus, is not a binary thing the way that sex mostly is, because your identity can be whatever you choose it to be. And there are people who, latch on to the gender binary and go from male to female with their gender. Now, for the words male and female, which refer both to a person's sex and to a binary person's gender, I don't know that there's a simple solution, but there is when it comes to sexuality, as long as we accept that sex and gender are two different things. Sex referring to one's biology at birth, and gender referring to how one identifies, whether that be male, female, or attack helicopter. So, if you are heterosexual, that doesn't necessarily, in this day and age, colloquially mean that you're straight, and vice versa. See, a straight person is someone who is attracted primarily or exclusively. Actually, a straight person is someone who's attracted exclusively to women. Now, I see no reason why this definition should not include trans women. Straight people are attracted to the opposite gender, and women in the case of men. I am, I guess, speaking from a male perspective here. But the point being that straight people are attracted to someone with opposite gender characteristics. So a straight man would be attracted to the feminine form, to people who look, act, and behave feminine. This, as far as I'm concerned, should include trans women. Now wait, you say, oh, I'm a straight guy, and I don't think that I should have to, have sex with or date a trans woman just to prove that I'm not bigoted and that I'm still straight. Okay, well, you might be losing the term straight here, because what you really are is heterosexual. You're interested in members of the opposite sex. If your primary concern isn't how someone identifies or how they express themselves, and if you're interested in tomboyish girls who might look and act like a guy but, well, are still biologically female, then you are heterosexual. Now, you can be both heterosexual and straight. This would be someone who exclusively was only interested in people of the opposite gender and sex. And honestly, they're cutting themselves off from a good portion of the population in this day and age by having that identity. But hey, it's not necessarily something that you can choose. This applies equally to gay people and homosexual people. A homosexual person is someone who is attracted to the same sex, not necessarily the same gender. And I'll bet there aren't actually that many people out there who are. I think that most gay people who are attracted to people of the same gender probably don't really care about the sex of the person behind them, but I could be wrong about that. And I do know that it's become an issue for, well, straight men who feel that their identity is under attack because they haven't taken the time to understand the linguistics used, or because people are trying to blur the lines between gender and sex and tell them that they're bigots if they don't sleep with someone who has a penis, something which many people just aren't interested in. Take, for instance, journalist Tim Pool. Now, he seems to me to be very trans-accepting and has spoken out against transphobes in the past. However, he's made it clear, if you watch his videos, that his primary concern when it comes to picking a partner is having his own children. He doesn't want to adopt. There's something in him, that biological urge, that makes it important for him to have kids of his own. And so he's not only interested in people of the opposite sex. He's only interested in people of the opposite sex who have the capability to reproduce. So, for instance, if you have, some disease or disorder that would prevent you from reproducing, and were dating Tim Pool, he would consider it to be quite dishonest to not be forthcoming with that to him, because that is, from what I've been able to tell, his primary concern. Now, Tim Pool seems to probably be straight. That is to say, attracted primarily or exclusively to the female form. But I don't actually know that for sure. I don't know that a trans male pre-op who is still capable and willing to have children would be someone who would interest Tim Pool or not. It's hard to say without asking him, which I'd be very interested in doing. Regardless, though, the issue faced is that straight people feel like they're under attack, and gay people have felt for years and years like they were under attack for the terminology used around their identities and their sexualities. When it comes to male and female, I'm all for hearing your suggestions as to how we differentiate between, talking about sex and gender. Some people say, cis male and cis female versus trans male and trans female, basically adding to the words, and a lot of people who would be considered cis don't like that term, as it was actually initially an insult and derives from one, and would prefer to be called biological men and women, or bio men and bio women versus trans men and trans women. I see no problem with this if that's how they choose to identify, and it is in fact a scientifically accurate term. I don't see it as transphobic to refer to oneself as a bio male or bio female. It's descriptive. Just like I wouldn't consider it an insult to go up and explain to someone who's heterosexual that they're not necessarily straight, and vice versa. Now, yes, straight for a long time meant the same thing as heterosexual, and gay meant the same thing as homosexual. However, with the emergence of the trans movement, we need to be a little bit more open and accepting with our language because, there are identities out there that 30 years ago we probably didn't even dream were possible. Part of this could be that those identities were less common because they were less socially glorified, but a lot of it really is because people were just uncomfortable expressing themselves. And, I think we should all feel comfortable in our own skin. So, for those of you who are wondering, because my sexuality is a topic that's come up a couple times on Twitter and in these videos, I would consider myself to be most of my life straight, in that I was and am interested primarily, though not exclusively necessarily, to the female form. When I was younger, there was a time when I was heterosexual as well, when I wanted to have my own children, and when it was important to me that the person who I was with was both a gender female and that they looked feminine and attractive and pleasing to me, as well as a biological female and that they would be able to carry my children. This is no longer the case, however, which means that by the definitions I'm laying out here, I would not be heterosexual. Really, I wouldn't be straight either, as straight indicates a number of things, whereas queer, by the original definition, fits me a little bit better because queer doesn't necessarily mean gay. It never did. It means someone whose sexual tastes are outside of the norm. And given that the majority of people are still both straight and hetero, and I no longer am, I could definitely be described as a mostly straight, queer, pansexual, I suppose. As you can see on my Twitter profile, I am the gender opportunistic priest of pansexuality. I did a video about this as well when I joined the Church of Sexual Humanism. And I think that, if nothing else, gives me the responsibility to have a say in these definitions. I've also spent a lot of my life studying the dictionary. Unlike most people, I read it for fun. And the definitions of words can definitely change based on colloquial use. So right now, we face an issue where people are at each other's throats if you go on social media over how they are and are not allowed to identify. But if we assign these words slightly stricter meanings, if we take how they're currently colloquially used and apply just a little bit of science and logic, all the reasons for fighting fall apart because, well, like I said, there's a simple solution. So, you may have thought of yourself as straight your whole life when you're really just heterosexual. And no, I'm not telling you how you can or can't identify. You can call yourself straight even if you don't match my criteria, but I do think that if these new criteria that actually separate sex and gender in the way that we talk about sexuality became the social norm, there'd be a lot less strife. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, I'm your host, Lewis Cipher. Thanks for watching the Devil's Advocate Debate Club. I was going to do a video on the Ohio issue, Ohio allowing incorrect answers to receive good grades in school for religious reasons, but I would like to have a chance to actually read the bill first, and I haven't been able to. Just a couple of articles about it. So I'm waiting until I can do a little bit more in-depth research before I touch too strongly on the issue, though I do still think that it's very important. I would also like to bring up the fact that YouTube has been deranking and banning at times videos for talking about dysphoria. Just using the word dysphoria, as I just have, will be enough to get this video removed from its search algorithms and suggestions. This is ridiculous, as gender dysphoria has been an important issue for all of my life, but is becoming more and more so in the modern era. And the fact that just as this issue is reaching its peak level of social importance and people are finally starting to have real discussions about it, YouTube's going to try and shut it all down. Once again, I don't know why, YouTube, but anyway. This was a long outro. I'll let you all go. Have a good one.